Space Marine is a game that knows exactly what it's about. It's got one aim: to make you feel like a Space Marine, to deliver that ultimate power fantasy. It does that so well by letting the combat take center stage. You're this titanic, stoic warrior, standing tall as the best of the best on the battlefield. You tear through your enemies.
They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give themselves to me.
In one of the earliest chapters, you walk by a wounded group of soldiers, and one of them says something like, "I'm glad I got to see a Space Marine before the end." And that for me was just perfect. It instantly conveyed that you're not just a simple elite fighting force, but an almost mythical being, the very sight of which is a rare honour. After all, Space Marines are practically demigods in comparison to a regular human. You stand as a behemoth in heavy plate armour, dealing death and destruction, standing against hordes of enemies and mowing them down. And that's where Space Marine totally succeeds. You're in control of what seems like an unstoppable force, an armoured colossus that's superior to the enemy in every way. And you know this from the very start. You're one of 3 Ultramarines sent to an invaded planet. You are the initial solution to this planet-wide invasion. And as you progress through the chapters, you're always reminded of how superior you are, where the Imperial Guard are struggling, losing ground, and dying en masse. You simply blast your way straight through the invading Orc army, securing objectives and slaughtering the enemy in their thousands on the way. The best way I can describe the feeling is to consider vehicle sections in other games, where you get a temporary power boost and start tearing through enemies. In Space Marine, you feel like that the whole time. Orcs burst in showers of blood and gore as you rain bullets from your bolter.
No foe can best them in battle.
One of the easiest ways to make a player feel powerful in games is to pit the player against massive hordes of enemies, making the player feel exceptionally powerful as they take on loads of enemies at the same time. Regular orcs attack in huge numbers, so when you tear through them with relative ease, you feel extremely powerful. Of course, it can't be super easy, or it wouldn't be satisfying. The difficulty comes from other threats, like large, armoured orcs and ranged attackers. It's something I think's underutilised in making a player feel powerful. It tends to be mostly ARPGs that focus on fighting hordes of enemies. I mean, that's the main thing that makes you feel powerful in Space Marine. Other things support the feeling, but allowing you to kill hundreds of enemies whilst making sure it doesn't feel super easy lets the player feel both powerful and skilled, like a Space Marine should feel. I wish there were more games that pitted you against hordes of enemies, so that you could feel that powerful more often.
With the mightiest guns will they be armed.
The weapons you used to slaughter the enemies are really satisfying. Every weapon plays differently and fulfills a different role. The bolter is your standard automatic weapon, and you'll be using that most of the time. The melter is a powerful shotgun that blasts through several enemies. The las cannon is your strong sniper. All the weapons have a different purpose, but they all feel good to use. Some feel incredible. The bolter is your primary weapon, and it's so satisfying to wield. Shredding orcs with this powerful automatic gun is a lot of fun, and there's really good sound design here, something I think is often overlooked. Everything sounds great. Massive, blasting shots, Gory pops and bursts as you mow down orc after orc. All the ranged weapons feel powerful, like you're wielding turrets from other games. It's so important that the impact and blasts sound loud and meaty, and when guns don't sound good, they become way less fun to use. And the melee weapons play well and sound fantastic too. The revving of the chainsword and huge slams as you smash the thunder hammer around. Now the melee combat's simple, but it serves its purpose. It gives you a backup when the horde gets close, and it enables melee executions, which regain your health. The thunder hammer also lets you focus more on melee if you want. But if you're anything like me, you'll find yourself wanting to do the melee executions all the time, because they are so brutal and visceral. They're a joy to watch, and the brutality of them lends itself to the power fantasy, tossing an orc to the ground and viciously stamping its head to pulp in one movement, single-handedly grappling a Khorne bloodletter and slitting their throat with a chainsword. It all makes you feel powerful and brutal, and again, just like a Space Marine.
In great armor shall I clad them.
As an armoured behemoth, a Space Marine should feel heavy and purposeful, and the game does a lot to convey the immense power, bulk, and weight of your character. Sprinting sees a metal clanging and almost lurching as the character goes forward, and it takes a second for the momentum to stop, and when you roll, your bulk slams the ground, and you can feel the weight behind it, and you can't jump at all. So when you get a jump pack that lets you rocket up briefly, again adding to the perception that you have this immense weight, and come crashing back down amongst the enemy, sending them flying, the game does a great job of conveying the immense weight and force that your character generates. You in your titanic armor, landing amongst the enemy, is one of the most brutal weapons in the game. And pulling this all together, the game oozes the 40k feeling. From the bombed out ruins of the city, the dystopian voiceover in the Manufactorum, the ridiculous orcs, the quotes when you die, the steadfastness of the Marines and the fantastic voice acting, all make it feel rooted in the 40k universe, which is essential when you're dealing with a franchise beloved by all. When you bring all of this together, mowing through hordes, satisfying weapons, brutal executions, and an atmosphere which is steeped in 40k, the game succeeds in the aim that it clearly had, to allow the player to become a Space Marine and feel like a Space Marine. It might not be the perfect game, but it certainly succeeds in providing the ultimate power fantasy.
They are my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear.